Fuck! Fuck! Fuck!
Oh, you stupid motherfucker!
You're gonna find me dead! I'm gonna kill myself!
Hit the fucking guy! What the fuck is he doing?
I'm gonna be hanging from the bathroom!
They got the
Don't ask me to do nothing! This is nothing!
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Steel Here podcast, where I'm your host, Kevin Adams, alongside my partner in crime, Jersey Jerry. And boy, it was a fun night to be a Steeler fan. But before we get to all that, Jerry and I have a special guest for the first time this season. He works for Steelers Depot, very well versed in talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Alex Kozora. So we'll go to the interview, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss the game. All right, so we're excited to have our first guest of the season. This is Alex Kozora of Steelers Depot. He's one of the most important people to what I read and listen to on Twitter. Highly respected, really appreciate his opinion on a lot of things. So we're excited to have you, Alex.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate that, and that's probably too kind. I'm just a guy, but no, I always appreciate that, Kevin.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for the viewers who don't know who Alex is, he actually works for a company called Steelers Depot. Tell what exactly is it that you do over there, Alex?
Yeah, I'm a co-owner of the site with Dave Bryan. Been there for about a decade now, and we just cover everything and anything Steelers, whether that's a lot of analysis, tape review, film breakdowns, things like that. But I mean, if it's Steelers, we cover it.
Right. Jerry, so Alex is a lot different than you and I. So he keeps it pretty much down the middle. Yeah, way more professional than you or I are. Let's say that. So Jerry and I have a habit of being a little neurotic. We're emotional. We get really caught up in the game. But Alex keeps it more calm and casual. He gives you a normal analysis, and that's one of the main things that I appreciate about what Alex does.
Jerry, Alex, you're a Steelers fan, right?
Oh yeah, I became a Steelers fan well before I became like the Steelers film guy and things like that. And I play a good face on Twitter, but watching the game at home sometimes there's still moments where I'm yelling and screaming like everybody else, especially on special teams. That kick return last night, that 89-yarder, I got so mad about just because what a terrible way to start that half.
It's fucking awful, and that's been a problem. So that's been one of the things that the Steelers have struggled with here the last couple of years. Special teams they've been a problem, and it's unfortunate because I think Danny Smith is a great guy. He seems like one of the nicest people in the world, but this year especially, the special teams is a glaring weakness on that football team.
Yeah, I think the kick coverage in particular, and it didn't just start in this Colts game. I think since the bye, there's been some cracks and some issues there. I think partly due to Matthew Wright, maybe his leg isn't as good, the hang time isn't quite as good. I'm not 100% sure about that. They're missing Miles Boykin. Talk about the value of a special teamer. I mean, Pittsburgh should know the history of some really strong special teamers throughout their heyday. Miles Boykin, to me, is one of those guys. They're missing him on kick return. But regardless, there is no excuse to be. And it wasn't even just the 89-yarder. They were allowing 45-yard run backs. It was consistently poor. I mean, even on that big run back the Colts had, that one's 8 yards steep. The Colts are taking that out because they know the Steelers can't stop it, and they're challenging that. So that part has been really frustrating.
Right. There's no doubt about that. I think one of the things that'll piss you off a lot is it ended up working in our favor last night, but the Cam Sutton offsides call on that field goal. Now, granted, it came back a few plays later. Jonathan Taylor coughs it up and we get the ball. But that type of stuff to me that's just unacceptable. I mean, you need to know down and distance if you are offsides, it's a first down in the red zone. You got out of there giving up 3 points to end up having that happen. That's the type of things, the little things that have killed the Steelers this whole year. It's just the small things that we're not doing right, and it's coming back to end up haunting the team.
Sure, this team has no margin for error with an offense that I think is making some progress, gaining some traction, but still penalties have killed this team in so many games. That Dolphins game, for example, just absolute backbreakers. I think Cam Sutton thought, hey, Loudermilk blocked one, and the first half, I want to get one too, but yeah, you can't be offsides there, that one. Luckily, it worked out, I guess, in a weird sense, but certainly still unacceptable.
Alex, I got a question for you. This is what I seen today. This is from a guy. Now, I'm not familiar with him. What's his name again, Kevin? Mark something?
Mark Kaboli.
Okay. He said that the Steelers beat, and I seen it on Twitter last night a bunch too, how bad the Colts were. A couple people said the Steelers didn't really play a great game against them. People were calling the Colts soft. And then when I checked the numbers, I seen the Colts defense, top 10 team defense, 7th in the league in turnovers forced. They're pretty damn good. Held Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts pretty much in check. Steelers scored more on them than the Chiefs did. Do you think the Colts defense is a bad defense? Like what's your opinion on them? Because I thought the Steelers played pretty damn well last night.
No, I'm with you, Jerry. I think the Colts have a good defense. They're well coached by Gus Bradley. They have a good scheme. They don't allow the big play. They had the number 2 run defense coming into that game, and Pittsburgh ran for $172 on them without Najee Harris for most of that game. McFarland, Snell, that's some good football justice for those guys to have really strong games. I'm a big Benny Snell guy, special teamer, cut his teeth. I mean, this dude is one of the best running backs in SEC history. Now he runs down kicks and punts. He was still doing that in that game, but it was nice to see him finally get an opportunity. So the Colts had some injuries, but most of their guys played. Buckner played, Franklin played in the middle for them. The Colts are not the Chiefs or some elite level team, but neither are the Steelers. And it's so hard to win in the NFL. You're on the road like that. I'm not complaining about wins. I'm not trying to judge wins. I'm just happy to get some wins this year.
Right. I think the thing that it's a two-sided coin on that for sure, because the Colts offense is dog shit. I mean, we know it's really bad. I think it is dead last in the league. I want to say in scoring, is it not, Alex?
Denver is the worst team, but aside from Russell Wilson's implosion, the Colts are the worst.
Yeah. So you're talking about, yes, the Colts suck on offense, but their defense, I'm judging these things based on how does Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers look against other teams' defenses, because you would hope that our defense eventually gets things figured out going in the next year. We have some holes definitely need to be filled, but it's all eyes on Kenny Pickett. So for me, I'm judging every single game on what are we seeing from Kenny, because in this league, you guys both know that in order to succeed, you need to have a good quarterback. You cannot get by on bums at the quarterback position. So to see what Kenny did against the Colts last night, which is a top 10 defense, in a lot of regards, it was really encouraging. I mean, it's hard to walk away from that game and not feel encouraged based on what you saw from Kenny Pickett last night.
Sure, I'm with you. Now, I think the thing I've always cautioned, and you guys know we're in this 24/7 hot take, got to know the answer world. I'm not ready to conclude anything bad about Kenny Pickett. I'm just analyzing, watching the progress. There's going to be ebbs and flows, but you are seeing some more continued progression. He's taking care of the football. This team has had 0 turnovers since the bye week. That's really important overall. I thought Pickett made some good throws. Still some things to work on, dealing with blitzes and things like that, but I'm happy with his progress. The moment's not been too big for him, and he's really just been a leader for this team. This team needs offensive leaders. It's such a young group, a new group overall. I mean, your captains this year are Trubisky, who's benched, and Najee Harris, who's had a tough year overall. So you need a guy to step up and take charge, and Kenny Pickett, I think, has done that well. So the intangibles are there for him. I think the on-field product is progressing and trending in the right direction, and so all of that is encouraging.
Alex, I don't know if you know the history, but me and Kenny are we're friendly. We're pretty good friends. So I'm always a little biased when it comes to Kenny Pickett. What worries you about Kenny Pickett, if there's anything that worries you? Like, what doesn't he do good enough for you?
Well, I think I'm still taking some of that in. Some of my concerns coming out, because Pickett was not my top quarterback in this past draft class, which was pretty polarizing, obviously pretty unique just because there weren't many guys that went high. I just wonder. Malik Willis was my guy. I was on the Willis bandwagon, understanding he was a really raw guy. But to the Pickett point, if you look at the top quarterbacks in football, Mahomes, Allen, Aaron Rodgers at his prime, Jalen Hurts, things like that, they make some of those crazy out of structure plays. Not that that's the base of what they do. There's a structure to them overall. There's a foundation. But when you have to make that high level play, they can make it. And so I just worry about when you're in an AFC North where you're facing Lamar Jackson for the next decade and Joe Burrow. Can Pickett go toe-to-toe with some of those guys? And is that ceiling quite high enough? I worry, is he a Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr kind of guy that could be a really good quarterback, a top 10 kind of guy, but are you going to be in that situation where you're always good but never quite getting over that hump? And that's my worry with Kenny Pickett.
It's quarterback purgatory. I call that quarterback purgatory. Yep. Like, and it's my biggest fear. I tweeted about this extensively before Kenny came out, and ended up being our quarterback only because of the same fears that Alex has. I think he can be a really, really good quarterback. Can he be an elite quarterback? That's yet to be seen. I just don't want to end up with a guy that's good enough, the Andy Dalton type, where we end up winning, 10, 11 games, we get into the dance, but we're never going to be good enough to win it all. And that's where you can burn 7, 8 years, because he's not bad enough you move on from him, but is he ever going to be good enough that you can win it all with it? And that's what scares the shit out of me. And that's what scared me about Kenny from the beginning. However, I do think he's progressing really nice. And until you see Kenny Pickett get to a point in his career, especially this early on where he plateaus or he starts to come back down, that's when I'll start to worry. But for right now, every single week he's doing a little bit better. And he's not usually making the same mistake more than one time or a couple of times, which to me is the most important part about a rookie campaign for a quarterback.
Yeah, well, that's all like I want to see is progression on a week to week basis. And I think it's tough to argue that he hasn't shown that. I feel like every week he's gotten a little bit better each and every time he steps on the football field.
Yeah, I think about that Bengals game, despite kind of the poor second half, how well he handled the blitz in that game because
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh was living in third and long, and the Bengals they do these sim pressures, they mug, they put their linebackers up in the A gaps, and it's a lot to handle. And I thought Pickett did a good job against beating the blitz, and this team's done better on third down since the bye week. So again, it's a long story to be written. I'm not trying to conclude anything today. I know you guys aren't either. I'm encouraged. I think it's been better recently, but still a ways to go.
Yeah, I texted Kenny before the game yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, who's the best quarterback in the NFL against the blitz this year?" And then before he got a chance to respond, he was typing. I sent him a GIF of himself, and he said, "Damn right." It was
I mean,
funny.
Again,
he has performed well against the blitz, which is, to
Yes.
me is huge. Like that's one of the biggest things. You see a lot of rookie quarterbacks, they have the arm, they have, everything they need, but when the moment gets big, they go small. And for Kenny to be able to see those things is nice. However, last night, I think he missed some hot reads, and that's some stuff that again, Alex, you'll speak to it better than I will. I don't break the game down the same way that you do, but he definitely missed some of the blitzes yesterday, and that's the type of stuff where let's hope moving forward he can learn from those types of mistakes.
sure, they're teach moments. The second sack I put on, generally speaking, Kenny Pickett. They're an empty protection. The back's coming out. The Bengals or the Colts have everybody in the A gap again. They're giving that sim pressure look. They're right the end. He's unblocked. He's free. That ball has to come out hot. There's no one to block him. Pickett. He's waiting for McFarland on the angle route. It's too long developing, and you take the sack. That actually happened a similar moment in that Bengals game. So that was a really disappointing moment because you're seeing some of those repeated mistakes. But to your point, Kevin, I agree with you. I think largely speaking, he's not made the same mistake twice. He has learned. He has grown. You think about early in that game, he threw a slant flat. It was a slant flat concept. He throws the flat. McFarland gets killed.
He got destroyed.
Yeah, but second time around, they run the same concept. He hits Diontae on the slant, and they move the
Yep.
chains. So he's learning to be a little patient, wait for the receiver to clear. And I think just dealing with some of the post-snap rotations, he's got to work on just reading that picture when it changes. Because in college, it's usually pretty static. What you see pre-snap, what you get post-snap, and in the NFL, they're always changing. They're always disguising. Got to work on that. But that's stuff every quarterback, every rookie quarterback has to deal with. So it comes with time and learning, making mistakes, and growing and getting better.
Do you, when you're grading Kenny Pickett or you're at least watching his growth and development, are you also taking into consideration Matt Canada? Like obviously on Twitter, Matt Canada's hot subject. Now there are some times where I'm like, Matt Canada calls some good plays and Kenny just misses guys, and you can see it. It's very hard to not admit that when you watch the game back. However, I find myself saying it's really hard to figure out exactly who Kenny is whenever he's in this offense where I just don't know that many people can succeed. I mean, it took Ben, which has been everybody knows this. Ben has come out and said it. It took Ben pretty much doing things on his own the last 8 to 10 minutes of fourth quarters last season to get the Steelers over the hump to come back and win some games. Kenny's not there yet. I really don't think he's ever going to be able to do that this season. So do you look at it and say it's really hard to grade what Kenny Pickett is giving us, or you kind of just, take it for what it is?
Yeah, there's an element to the Matt Canada curve that I understand. I've been pretty critical of Canada, especially the first month, 5 weeks of the season. Some of that was with Trubisky. I think it's been better since, but I still think there's enough there to grade Pickett just based on who he is as a quarterback, his decisions, his reads, his accuracy, all those kinds of things. Again, it has been, I think, better for him. And really, frankly, the harder part to evaluate Pickett earlier in the year was there was no run game. He was dropping back his first 3 starts that he played start to finish. He was averaging 52 dropbacks a game. That's where
insane.
I think it became tough to evaluate him because it's like any rookie quarterback's going to be struggling in that situation. No run game, playing from behind, getting blown out, defense allowing 30 plus points. So that was frankly the harder part of evaluating him. More recently, when this team's become more balanced, been more competitive, it's been easier to evaluate him just because there's been a less weight, less pressure on his shoulders.
Yeah,
Right.
Alex, what would you say to the people who ask, why can't the Steelers play a full game of football? Why is it always one half they look great, the next half they just feel like they just don't show up?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I'm sure that Pittsburgh's not the only team in that. It's a tough sport overall. There's no easy wins. There's no easy teams to me. But I would just say it's a team in transition. It's a young team. It's a really young offense. So many new pieces. I mean, they're on 3 offensive line coaches in 3 years, and so the offensive line has had their growing pains. They've matured. They've gotten better. And as your O line kind of deals with that, your whole offense typically deals with those growing pains as well. Quarterback changes. Najee Harris, with some of the injuries, just not always playing up to where we thought he would be. So when you have a really young group that's trying to find itself, I asked the question, what is the identity of the Steelers offense? And I really struggled to even now come up with an answer. They're kind of working towards that. But when you lack an identity, it's hard to have consistency. The 49ers are consistent because they know who they are. The Eagles are consistent because they know who they are and what they're about. As Pittsburgh still got to get to that point. And so that's an element. And then defensively, you've had some injuries and, the secondary pass rush, things like that have made the season pretty challenging.
Alex, what's your opinion on Mike Tomlin? And be real about this, because I'm the Mike Tomlin thing for me is very, very tough. I do think he's a good coach. I just think sometimes things go stale. I think the Steelers have missed in the last couple of years. I think they've come up short when they shouldn't have come up short, is what I'll say. And I hearken it back to it. For me, it's always coaching. It's X's and O's type stuff, because we've had insanely talented rosters, and those insanely talented rosters are losing to teams with, lesser talented, better coaching, in my opinion. Is it insane to think that Mike Tomlin might not be everything that people in Pittsburgh think that he is? Is that crazy, or is it just hot take to believe that Mike Tomlin might have lost his touch?
Well, I mean, you introed me by saying I'm a bit down the middle, so I'm going to give you my classic down the middle, I guess, answer right now. I like Mike Tomlin. I'm not somebody that wants to fire Mike Tomlin. I think he's a really good coach. I think the best thing he's done, he's been this team's head coach since 2007. He's never lost that locker room. Now, he's made mistakes. He's had problems. His team is disappointed. He's never lost that locker room, and that's such a tough thing to do overall. But I think it is fair to critique. This team has not won a playoff game since 2016. The Pittsburgh Steelers have gone this long without winning a single playoff game.
Right.
I still trying to figure out how they lost that 2017 game to Jacksonville. I mean, that team was so talented. How do you lose that game? The thing that annoys me the most, and I'm almost in a very narrow and selfish sense, would be happy to have the Steelers have a losing season, just because I hate that Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season stat. It drives me up a wall, because in Pittsburgh, you don't hang banners, you don't put trophies in cases for going 9-8 or 8-8. You give accolades for winning Super Bowls and things like that. And so that part has always kind of annoyed me. But I think Tomlin's a good coach overall. I think he's handles adversity well. I think even in this season, you're seeing some of that stuff. So again, short answer, it is certainly fair and right to critique and be disappointed by what this team has done over the last 5-6 years. But at the same time, I'm not someone in the camp of let's fire Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, Alex, and one more question I had for you is how do you watch the game and then you tweet so fast? I just can't wrap my head around how quick it comes out.
Well, first of all, just don't talk to women for like 29 years. Just don't do that. Just sit in your house. That's kind of, if you can have that skill, you can become pretty good at what I do. But no, it's just something that evolved over time. But I think certainly the way I watch games has been transformed. I used to be the super hardcore fan that would live and die by every single win and loss. I'm a little bit more reserved and kind of take the emotion out of it. But it's been a lot of fun. I get to talk about football. It's been a good time.
I've not learned that skill yet.
I can tell.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's just not the type of personality
I don't want you to learn that skill. I like you how you are.
Yeah, no, it's really hard. So Jerry and I were talking on last week's episode. We were talking about how like it gets to a point in the season where wins hurt you. Because the season's we're not making the playoffs. Do you think we're making the playoffs? No, we're not making the playoffs. So in my mind, I would love to have one of those drafts where, especially this year, where we're going to have, 3 of the top 38 picks or whatever it's going to be. I would love to get a top 10 pick, a top 7 pick, and then some high in the 30s.
Well, we
You
just
know,
dropped
so
to 12th, no?
yeah, so we're 12 now, and one win drops us into the 12 slot. So it's just I don't like drafting in the middle. Yeah, I really bothers the shit out of me. So if we're gonna have a bad year, I would love to just have a bad year, a really bad year, and fans don't want to hear that. But I said that last week on the episode, and then last night I find myself fourth quarter, we're up 7. You got to make this fucking stop. Like, what are we doing out here? Like, it's so hard to turn that part off.
Yeah, and yeah, how could you root against this team? It goes against your very core, your essence.
Right.
And I understand the math of it. If you lose, you get the higher pick, but and this is going to seem super obvious and intuitive. If you win, that means something went well. That probably means that Kenny Pickett played well and George Pickens played well. So even though you might only have the 17th pick as opposed to pick number 8, if that means that means Pickett played well and this offense has gotten better, I'll take that and those promising signs over a 10 spot differential when it comes to the first round of the draft.
Alex, what's your take on Diontae Johnson? Me and Kev go back and forth on this a little bit. Kevin was a little bit down on Diontae Johnson before me, but I'd say within the last 6 months, he's kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's been a frustrating season for Diontae Johnson. You can certainly feel that frustration both when he talks, even his body language. His body language overall is probably not that great on the field, but
No.
I still like this guy. I still think he's a tremendous route runner, a great separator. I think he has been really misused by Matt Canada and this offense. I mean, the most common routes he's been targeted on this year have been curls, comebacks,
Hmm.
out routes, not the slants, not the yards after catch stuff that he excels in. Now again, I mean, he's starting to run backwards every time he catches the ball over the middle, which I'm not sure what's
Exactly.
going on there. Number of times Kenny
Exactly.
Pickett has pointed him to go forward has been crazy, but I think he's a really talented guy that gets in these slumps, that kind of hangs his head low sometimes, and he kind of compounds the problem from there. So I don't want to give up on the guy. I think he's super talented, but it's been a tough season for him. There's no question about that.
Do
He's
you
a head
think?
case.
Do you think George Pickens opens up next year as wide receiver 1?
I don't get too caught up in terms of receiver 1, receiver 2. They're both going to be starters. They're both going to get opportunities. But yeah, I think that George Pickens' ceiling is through the roof. This guy's an incredible talent, and you saw that during the summer. I mean, he made just every single practice. I go to every training camp practice, and every single day he was just making some sort of ridiculous catch, stuff that you just don't see that often. And I think what's most exciting about Pickens is the last couple of weeks, you're seeing him become more a complete receiver. He's not just the vertical deep ball guy. He still very much is that, as you saw that catch he made against the Colts. But he's working in scramble drills. He's getting involved in a receiver run game. He's running a fuller route tree. And that's the most exciting part to me is because the vertical stuff we knew. You watch his college tape, like he's going to be a great guy, contested downfield body control, sideline catches. But can you become more than that? I'm seeing signs of that. So to answer your question, Jerry, yeah, I think Pickens can become the most dominant force on this offense. But end of the day, both guys are going to be starters, and that's really where my focus lies.
Alex, what are you looking at in the offseason? Like, where, obviously, after we've played, what is it now, 11 games, we know where we are. We know what our deficiencies are. We know where we excel. What is your dream offseason as far as, rebuilding this team? I have a couple things that are in my mind, cornerback being very high. Cornerback for me is the number one. It's the number one hole in the team, in my opinion. But where are you looking this offseason?
Yeah, it'll be a lot of change. I think just off the top, maybe not in terms of my dream, but my expectation is this will be the first time that Omar Khan and Andy Weidel have gotten to really put their hands on this roster. They didn't get hired until late May, after the draft, after the bulk of free agency, and that's very rare for a GM to step in those spots that late in the process. So this offseason will be the first time for them, and they'll have money and they'll have some capital and things like that to really transform this roster. And I expect a lot of changes overall. I think number one corner would be fantastic. This team is lacking that. You got a bunch of number 2 type corners on this team. They really don't have that number 1 standout guy. Problem is, it's hard to find that number 1 standout guy. You got to have that top draft pick that you're talking about, Kevin, to try to require it.
Yeah.
Somebody of that caliber. I think trenches, though, overall, O-line, D-line, to me, left guard is where I'd start. I think Kevin Dotson's a talented guy. I think physically he's got the tools. He's just so frustrating to watch. Mentally, technique, it is a mess. It is all over the place. He's still not even following always Pat Meyer's rules and pass protection and things like that. So I would personally start left guard. And this D line could look a whole lot different next year. Alualu's almost certainly going to retire. Wormley's a free agent. Ogunjobi's a free agent. Hayward another year older. Things like that. So Andy Weidel, from his Eagles background, he's a big trench guy, big edge rusher, pass rush kind of guy. I would expect a lot of investments in the trenches this offseason.
You look more free agency. We have some money, so I was looking at it earlier today. The Steelers actually have a decent bit of cap space again, so you look for them to spend it all because this year I was surprised they didn't spend as much as they really could have. Now I don't know entirely why that would have been, but they're gonna have some money. So are there guys that you would see coming up that are going to be free agents that you would see the Steelers actually target?
To be honest, I haven't even taken a look at the list of names because there's going to be plenty of time to do that once the season ends. So I'm sure I'll get to that point come January. I think they will spend a fair amount of money because once you take that franchise quarterback off the books, it's going to open up a fair amount of cap space. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but yeah, I think they're going to spend something similar to what they spent this year. Not going to be crazy. Not going to hand out $80 million type contracts, but they'll have a couple of starting caliber free agent signings, I'm sure, plus their draft picks.
Do
Yeah,
you
I
keep
think
Devin
our
Bush?
yeah, I would okay.
Do I keep Devin Bush? Short answer, no. I think he's gotten better. I just did a video showing his improvement, but I don't want to confuse better with good enough. And I don't think
Mhm.
it's been good enough for Devin Bush. And it's just that weird feeling of that first round pick that didn't work out to keep him around, unless it is a Terrell Edmonds type of deal where it's 1 year and super cheap. But even then, I think I would go on and try to find something else.
Agreed. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Joe.
I was gonna say, as far as the linebacker position, I think the Steelers will not get the chance to draft Will Anderson. I thought if we were gonna fall in the top five, we might have had a chance to grab him. But I just feel like this is where the Steelers are going to end up this year, middle of the pack. And while I know it's not a terrible thing, I think it might hurt this team a little bit to get a stud like that.
Yeah, I think that really interesting point with the edge position is I know you have Watt and Highsmith, and most people think, okay, you got their two guys, you're good. I think they got to draft an edge rusher higher than people think. You got to have three edge rushers. It's like three receivers in a pass happy offense. You can't have
Yeah.
just two because you've seen the injuries, just general rotation. You lose TJ Watt, your whole defense totally transformed. And I don't expect
Yep.
any draft pick to become the next TJ Watt, but Mike Tomlin has called, and he's right when he says it. He's called the outside linebackers the engines of this defense. You can't have two cylinders. You got to have at least a third cylinder in there to replace. So I'm not necessarily saying a first round pick, but I would probably go with a day two type pick at outside linebacker to give yourself really quality depth at one of your most important positions. And plus, while I think Alex Highsmith could get a long term deal next summer, there's no guarantee of that. Who knows what he's going to want, what contract he's going to want. So if that deal can't get done, you better have a starter in waiting, just in the way that Highsmith was here for a year before he officially and fully replaced Bud Dupree. So for multiple reasons, this team has to do better. You can't have Derek Tuska and Taco Charlton and Malik
No.
Reed and Jameer Jones be your number three. I'm sorry, it's just not good enough to win consistently and protect yourself for this defense.
Alex, let's play a game. I'm going to run down the schedule, answer them quickly. Win or loss. Steelers Falcons.
Loss.
Wow.
I
Ravens
feel that's going to
Steelers.
surprise you guys. Yeah. I'll say win.
At home, beat the Ravens. Steelers Panthers.
Win.
Raiders Steelers.
Immaculate Reception anniversary. Win.
Steelers Ravens on the road.
Loss. They always split against Baltimore.
Browns Steelers at home.
I'll take that as a loss.
So you're looking at another Falcons win, Ravens win, Panthers. You think they're going to win somewhere around 7-8 games?
I had Falcons as a loss. Is that you said win?
Yeah, you have Falcons as a loss, and
Oh,
then
okay,
Ravens
yeah.
win, Panthers win, Raiders win, Ravens Browns.
Yeah,
So you're looking at 7-8 wins.
7-8, yeah, 7 wins.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I mean, I think this team the offense has gotten better, the defense has gotten healthier, the schedule is not nearly as daunting. So yeah, I would probably say around 7 wins is my loose expectation right now.
Who's your unsung hero on this team?
That's a really good question. I think Miles Boykin as a special teamer. I just love watching those kind of guys overall. I don't know if he's quite my unsung hero of this team. How about James Daniels at right guard? He got a lot of crap this summer, including for me. I
Yeah.
thought he had a really tough summer.
Yeah.
He was my guy that I wanted in free agency, and I got him, and I was super happy. Then he looked terrible in camp. I think he was adjusting the Pat Meyer system. He's certainly gotten a lot better with his technique. And then Mason Cole in the middle, underrated guy, super tough. He's not played healthy the entire season. I think he probably got hurt in the summer. I watched him in camp struggling a little bit. They just get a big roll of tape, they tape up his foot, they put him out there, and he plays steady, consistent football. So he's not the next great Steelers center, but he's consistent, sure better than last year in Kendrick Green, and you kind of feel that just that steady, consistent presence, that leader in the middle. I'm a big fan of Mason Cole.
Alex, I'm gonna tell you a story. So it's kind of funny. Earlier, I was having dinner with my girlfriend who you'd met at training camp, and so I'm like, I have to record the podcast tonight, et cetera. And she's like, "Oh, that's fun." I'm like, "Yeah, we have a guy coming on. His name's Alex." I'm like, "You actually met him at training camp?" She's like, "I wouldn't remember that." She couldn't give two shits less about football to begin with, so she's like, "I wouldn't have remembered that." And I'm like, and then randomly, like 30 seconds later, she's like, "Wait, is this the guy? It was pouring rain, and he has a notepad, and he's timing kicks." I'm like, "Yeah, that's him." She's like, "Oh, that will be exciting." I'm like, "Yeah." So for the viewers that don't know, like, Alex is the type of person who goes to every single training camp. A couple years ago, I sat beside him. He'll time the hang time of the punts coming off of Harvin's foot. So it's pouring rain. His notepad's all mucked up, and he's still out there doing it for the people. So that's why I appreciate the shit out of Alex, and I really do appreciate you coming on with us today, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's how most. No, I appreciate that. I think that's how most women would describe me, is that it was that weird guy with the notes, and like that's just the general vibe that I give off. I know that was a big camp. That was Harvin versus Barry. So those hang times were important at the time, and Harvin's done better this year. So I'm happy to see Harvin pick things up.
Yeah, I'll say, Alex, you've been a really good follow on Twitter, man. Kevin put me onto you this year, and I'll tell you what, it's one of my favorite Twitter follows, man. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are doing fantastic. I've been following you guys for a while, so appreciate you guys asking me on.
Absolutely. So for anyone who wants to follow Alex, we will put his Twitter handle here on the screen. We'll probably have him on again. In the offseason, Jerry and I are looking at doing a couple of episodes. Something that's exciting, Alex, you'll actually enjoy this. So we're looking at lining up a nice interview with Kenny after the season, like a season end recap type of deal. So you have to keep an eye out for that. But no, we do want to thank you. Appreciate you stopping by. It means the world to us. Jerry and I usually are just getting on here bitching and ranting. So it's nice to hear somebody with a little intellect talk about football instead of us just banging heads back and forth on here. So for anyone that wants to follow Alex, he is a great follow. He is well worth the follow on that end of things. Alex is a good dude, man. I mean, he's a good dude. He knows football. He's so much different than the way you and I talk about it. Like, you can tell he's very, very reserved. He's not gonna blow anybody up. not like you and I. I tried several times to bait him into talking some shit about people, and he just won't do it.
No, he's just a professional. You know, I mean, you can even tell the way he tweets. He's just such a professional. I don't think anybody's gonna get him off his game.
No, I tried. All business. I tried to bait him with some Tomlin questions, just not taking them.
Nope.
So anyway, that was a great interview with Alex. You guys are going to have to follow him. We'll put his information here up on the screen. Give him a follow. But he said some things, Jerry, that are encouraging about Kenny Pickett. And for anybody who watched that game last night, you have got to be encouraged by what Kenny Pickett is giving us. And Jerry tweeted it. If you're not encouraged and you don't think that Kenny Pickett is getting better each week, you're just a fucking hater. And that's where I'm at with this at this point, because for the last 4 games, Kenny has shown signs of life. He's getting better each and every week, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, that's what else do you really want? Like, do you expect a rookie quarterback to come in and win you a Super Bowl? I mean, that just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? In the NFL. So, like, he's trending the right way. He's getting better each week. I don't think there's much more to see. I mean, you know, he's doing everything better than the week prior. Do you want to see more touchdown passes? Yeah, of course we do. You know what I mean? But, you know, like Alex said, you know, it's tough to win in this league. It's tough to win, and especially when you got a really young team, a really, really young offense. And let's not forget, you know, Kenny didn't get a lot of first team reps in training camp, you know, so there were some bumps in the beginning when he took over as QB1. But I'll tell you what, I think he's the right man for the job. I really do.
And some of the things that were encouraging about Kenny last night were, and we said it a few weeks ago, and he's really not made a habit of it since, where he was running a lot. You know, he was running, you know, before letting the plays develop and looking downfield. He's not doing that anymore. Kenny is now running when it is needed to run, and not just because he can't find the first open guy and he's getting out of the pocket. He moved through the pocket really, really nicely last night. And he did some things. He made some nice, really tight window throws.
Yeah, he threw some dimes, bro.
Absolute dimes, darts. That 2-point conversion to the right side where the play breaks down, he rolls out to the right side. The fact that there were two things that were beautiful on that play. He extends the play. He throws a fucking seed to George Pickens' corner of the end zone. An absolute dart on the money, 2-point conversion successful. Beautiful to see that on the rollout, that accuracy. But the other part was the rapport that he had with George Pickens on that play, because Pickens faked like he was going to cut back into the middle of the end zone and then went back outside. And he and Kenny were on the same exact page when it came down to the anticipation throw. I mean, he hit him. That to me goes to show that, we talked about the Diontae Johnson thing with Alex. Is he the number one receiver? Is George Pickens going to be the number one receiver? You can already see that George Pickens is the number one receiver to Kenny. I mean, he absolutely is. That's Kenny's guy right now. And it's going to be Kenny's guy, for, let's hope, 10 years. You know what I mean? But to see that very early in their careers together, it's encouraging. It's exciting as hell. And that's when we're looking at a down season. I'm looking at the things to be excited about. It was really nice to see Kenny and George shine last night together.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, I think their connection is just getting better as the weeks go on, And one thing I just don't agree with is like Steelers Twitter talking about how the win was like a whatever type of win. Like, the Colts aren't good. Who cares? Like, Kenny looked okay. And no, Kenny looked really good. And the Colts have a damn good defense, man. So, I think it's time to, put some respect on Kenny's name, man. Because I think, as much as I hate to say this, because I really do want a really good draft pick, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of wins down the stretch.
Right. And that's why I wanted to ask, again, that's why I wanted to ask Alex that question, is like, because in my mind, I'm like, we're going to fucking lose every game. We suck. It's the highest of highs and lowest of lows with you and I, Jerry. It's just how we are as people. So to know that he thinks that they're going to, win 7-8 games, that's, when we started the season off, I'm like, there's no way we even win 5 games. We're fucking terrible, you know, but they are turning it around. And that's a testament to some of the development that Kenny has been giving us. The
Could
good
you
and the
imagine
bad.
if they go 9-8?
Oh, fuck. I see it. That's if we made the playoffs and we get some experience on that end of it, okay, whatever. If we go 9-8 and miss the playoffs, still, that's going to piss me off. At that point, that's just drafting in the 15 to 20 spot. You're mediocre. You're not going to stop getting, those middle of the round draft picks if that's where we continue to lay. But God, the Mike Tomlin supporters would have a field day if he ends up turning this into a 9-8 run, man. Shit.
Oh yeah, I get tagged in so many tweets and so many clips we have on here. Listen, the guy tweeted at me yesterday. He's like, "Oh, are you going to shut up now about Mike Tomlin?" And like, dude, like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, we just won a football game. Yes, Kenny looked really good. Yes, I mean, we're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. There's still Matt Canada as the offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? So until things change around, no, I'm not going to change my tone.
No, and there's no reason to change the tone right now. We beat a team that's just like us, maybe a little worse than we are. It was, when you get offended that people talk shit about, it was just the Colts. I understand, because it's the Colts defense, and it was Kenny Pickett finally looking good for 4 quarters of football for the most part. You know what I mean? I have some arguments about the second half. Matt Canada is still fucking bad at his job. He will not make adjustments. You heard Colts players say they're running the same plays.
Yep.
So, everybody is on to Matt Canada at this point. The guy's a bum. But one thing Alex said off air, he just talked to Jerry and I, and he said that he has concerns that the Steelers will bring Matt Canada back next year for the last year of his deal. If that happens, you will hear me call from Mike Tomlin's head every fucking game. I won't let it go. Doesn't matter. Won't let it go. They will have to win the fucking Super Bowl for that to make sense then, because we know Matt Canada is not good. And if it is hindering Kenny in any way, which I believe that it could be, then it's time to cut the fucking cord on that guy. So the Steelers one time have to look themselves in the mirror and say, look, we made a mistake. It's over. Let's move on from it. He cannot come back next year. The guy, of everyone we talk about, they're getting better. Matt Canada is simply not. He's not getting better. It will be so unjustified for that guy to come back for the last year of his fucking contract.
Yeah, I mean, I just really hope not. I think he has one more, right? You said one more?
Yep.
I really hope not, because I definitely don't think he's the right guy for the job. And I actually don't think he's the right guy for any job in the NFL. maybe go back to college. And
Right.
he wasn't even
sucked
that great.
there. He
wasn't
sucked
even
there,
good,
man. That's
good in
that's my whole
Didn't he
thing.
have
He
like
wasn't
one
even
good
good.
year, right? Didn't he have like one good
Yes.
year?
Yes. And that's my whole thing about this is what are they seeing that we're not seeing if they bring him back for a third season? I mean, to me that's where it's hard for me to come off of Mike Tomlin until he makes the legitimate changes which improve the team. You know, if we want to scapegoat his coordinators, fine, but he better fucking change them. Otherwise, it comes back to him. And we say that every week. I'm not talking any more about Matt Canada. Some of the bad things Kenny did last night, though, he missed some throws, though. He did miss a couple of throws. He had George Pickens wide open. I mean, that is a fucking that's a layup. In football terms, that is a 100%er, and he didn't hit the throw. And that was disappointing to see for sure. But then he makes the throw to Diontae Johnson, and Diontae Johnson doesn't catch the fucking football. Yeah, so what? I mean, for as much as that guy gets all upset, oh, I want the ball, I need the ball, I'm open. He did two things yesterday that drove me fucking insane, and he does the one a lot. He runs that across the route across the middle of the field, and then he comes backwards. He almost has the first down. He's a yard shy of the first down, and then he shaves 4 yards off of it because he comes backwards.
He thinks he's Tyreek Hill, and he's not.
No, and at some point, and he does that a lot. That guy does that shit a fucking lot, man. So that's where it's like in the wide receiver room, how are they not saying, bro, stop doing it? You're fucking killing us. You're literally, that has never worked for us. Why do you continue to do that? And then that ball, he should have caught that touchdown pass.
Well, that cost me $7,000. That play.
Oh yeah, tell the people about that, Jerry, because that hurt. I put 500 on it with Jerry, but Jerry had a nice amount on a big bet right there.
Yeah, I had $2,200 parlay. Steelers plus 14.5 just to be safe, and Diontae Johnson to score a touchdown. And when that play happened, I mean, it was a great ball from Kenny, really good ball. Probably the only place you could put that football, in the left side of the end zone, and it just hits his hands. And I mean, the defender didn't even touch the ball.
Nope.
He just dropped it. You know.
No. He didn't catch the football. He just did not catch the fucking football. So that's what pisses me off about him.
And I said to myself, and I texted you before the game, they're gonna force feed Diontae Johnson today, and they did. I think I really do, because I think we know it. The locker room must know it. Coaches must know it. He hasn't been the happiest guy in Pittsburgh. I felt like this was a game where they wanted to get him started early, which they did, and then to come out and drop a touchdown pass, and then the next day tweet like, oh, he put out a tweet or a Instagram post or something like that. Don't listen to the negative talk today. Like, but buddy, why don't you just like share the Steelers Instagram post that you won the football game and not make it about you, bro?
Right. That's why I can't stand this guy. He's got a bad attitude. I mean, he just has a bad attitude. It's that simple. And I wanted that was another thing I wanted to lead Alex into talking about was his attitude, but he wouldn't take it. But it's just there are so many things that Diontae Johnson does that are cryptic and crybaby-ish, and I'm just done with it, man. And at some point, he needs to understand that. And it would be okay if he would accept he's a number 2. He's a really good number 2.
One of the best number 2s if he is a number 2, yes.
Right. But you can't watch George Pickens and you can't watch George Pickens' evolution through these last, 10 games, 11 games, and then watch in the same offense, under the same circumstances, with the same quarterback, and he is outperforming Diontae Johnson. Now, is Diontae Johnson maybe misused? Yes, which circles back to Matt Canada. However, I mean, when he is getting the looks, he's still not capitalizing on those. So if you're judging them apples to apples here, same quarterback, same offensive scheme, all of that, George Pickens is the better wide receiver. It's really hard to make an argument for Diontae Johnson on that end of things.
Yep, 100%.
Defensively, I thought the Steelers were decent yesterday. The pass rush was dog shit. We could not get the pass rush going on a really slow and a really old Matt Ryan. But I thought defensively, the first half, they made him look stupid. They made the Colts offense look really stupid yesterday.
Yeah, they did. And credit to the secondary. Credit to James Pierre, man. That guy steps up when he gets on the football field. I would love to see a little bit more of him as the season plays out. I think he could be a good piece in the future in Pittsburgh. The dude plays hard. He makes some big plays. You've seen what he did against, I forget what team it was.
Bucks. Remember,
Yeah,
we
the
talked
Bucks,
about
the
it was the
Bucks,
Bucks. Yeah.
the Bucks. He looked very, very good against the Bucks, man. He really did. But I think a lot of things worked well on defense. You know, I know T.J. Watt. It didn't have the best statistics. I think probably the worst statistical game in his history. I think he just had one tackle and that was it. But you know, people talk about it on Twitter, but you know, the guy did almost friggin' tear his pec. You know, fully
Mhm.
ruptured it. So you know, maybe he rushed back a little bit. Maybe he's not 100%. Even if he is, I mean, you know, he still affected the game. He still was pressuring the quarterback. There was a couple times where he almost got sacks on Matt Ryan, opened up the door for Alex Highsmith. So I think there was a lot of good things on defense. One thing that stood out to me was. You know, and we gave this guy a lot of flack in the beginning of the year, and sometimes he just makes these type of plays where it's like, oh, he can be pretty good, and it's Devin Bush on when he swatted the ball down
That was
on that.
nice.
It was a big play, but like he's just really inconsistent for me. But I think Alex alluded to it. Probably not going to be back in Pittsburgh next year.
No, not unless it's one of those, like he said, the Terrell Edmonds sweetheart deal, 2.5
Yeah.
million, something stupid like that. But even then, Alex hit the nail on the head when he said that, you know, we don't want to say because he's been better is good enough, because it's still just not been good enough. And it's a shame we
No.
traded up for the guy, 10th overall pick, and it hasn't worked out for us. I just don't think he's just not an explosive playmaker, linebacker that the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, have been missing since Ryan Shazier. And so
Yeah.
I would be fine going back to the wishing well on that end of things, only simply because it's been long enough. We've let the knee heal. We've let those excuses subside, and we're just not seeing any major production out of Devin Bush. He's doing his job, but is he doing more than his job? No. I mean, it's not. I think it would be time to move on from Devin Bush as far as that's concerned. And yeah, TJ Watt, he didn't have the greatest game that showed up on the stat sheet, but I watched it back again today. They double him on. They had the running back chip him on almost every single pass play.
Oh yeah,
almost
they have
every
been.
pass play. So you're talking about a guy who's still drawing tons of double teams, and you know they're still game planning for him. So that's when a guy like Alex Highsmith needs to step up and eat. That's when Cam needs to eat. That's when Larry Ogunjobi needs to get to the quarterback. You know, so and that's just, we didn't really see a ton of that yesterday, and I'm going to say something that's probably not a popular opinion, but I'm starting to see a little bit of decline in Cam Hayward's game, though. He's not taking over games like he would have last year, the years, you know, a couple of years prior to that. I just think Father Time is undefeated, and we're finally starting to see a little bit of retraction from Cam Hayward. And that's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes, man.
Yeah, just how it goes, man. He's getting up there in age. You know, who knows how many more years he has left. If I was to guess, I'd say 2. I don't know if he'll play past that, but I think he'll be back next year. I don't know if he'll be back the year after that. That's why I'm putting it at 2. He's getting up there, man. You know, football is a really, really physical sport. So, you know, we can't complain too much because the guy has been a beast for a really long time. Sure, he's probably lost a step or two, but it is what it is. You know, I think he's a good leader, though, on the defense.
Absolutely, and that's why, you know, whenever I guess someone had asked, would it even be an option to trade him? Someone asked Tomlin that, and they said no. It's not going to happen. So the Steelers, again, they're loyal to their guys, and I just think maybe Cam Hayward is one of those guys that we're going to end up having to just, you know, temper our expectations on what we expect out of Cam Hayward. But that also tells me that we need to look at going heavy D-line this year because it's, you know, as Alex said, we're going to lose Alawalu. Cam is regressing a little bit here. Ogunjobi, I would love to sign Ogunjobi. We signed him on the 1-year deal. I'd love to get him on a 3-4 year deal because he's still young. But yeah, Wormley, the Steelers D-line is going to look very different next year, and I'm kind of actually excited about it just because we really aren't a great defensive line anymore. And you see it whenever we play some of these teams when we don't get a pass rush up the middle like we would have, you know, 3-4 years ago. So it's hard for me to fully, you know, come at TJ when he's not putting up numbers on the stat sheet, only because other guys aren't picking up the slack when he actually is getting doubled, which is what they're supposed to be doing. So it is what it is on that end. Let's just go into the tweet of the week. What do you got for your tweet of the week?
My tweet of the week is, let me pull it up. Steelers. Where is it at? Oh, it's the Dan Orlovsky tweet. He says, you got to be so encouraged if you're the Steelers big time ball KP. It's just a clip of Kenny Pickett throwing that dime to Pickens, I believe, and it just shows you like he can make the big throws. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He could get pressured and he can get the ball out and he could throw some dimes. So, Orlovsky being a former quarterback, I'm sure he knows the quarterback position, a lot better than us. So, this guy sees some upside in Kenny Pickett, as do a lot of us.
Yeah, right. And there's another guy who is a Hall of Famer in the NFL. Now, he wasn't a quarterback, but he is familiar with the Steelers, I'll tell you that much. Joe Thomas. So my tweet of the week is Joe Thomas. He was a lineman for the Browns, Hall of Fame lineman. Guy never won a playoff game, so he likes to talk a lot of shit about the Steelers. But he said, if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm waking up with an ear-to-ear grin this morning. Not because you won the game last night. That was meaningless. No, it's because Kenny Pickett looks like the real deal. In the last week, Jerry, in the last 2 weeks roughly, we've heard a lot of people come out, a lot of people that are well more versed in analyzing quarterback play and things of that nature, talking heads all across the football world, and they're all starting to come up with the same answers about Kenny Pickett. He's showing all the signs that get Steelers fans excited. He's making some of the big throws. Some of the things that Kenny did last night that were wildly impressive to me. He's throwing with anticipation now.
Yeah.
What throwing with anticipation means for those that don't understand, when wide receivers run a route, Kenny obviously knows the route that they're going to run. They know the route that they're going to run. He's throwing the ball before they finish their route, which means he knows where they're going to be. He's hitting them. He's throwing the ball before they're even turning around. He did it a few times with Diontae Johnson on the right sideline. Before Diontae Johnson even makes his hook, Kenny's releasing the ball. That's how those plays are designed to work. But in order to do that, you need to be able to read the defense fast enough. You need to analyze the play fast enough. You need to be able to break down the game speed fast enough to be able to make that throw. And Kenny's doing it more in the last 2 games than we saw him do it at all at the beginning of the year. That, to me, is one of the biggest signs of growth that you're never going to see show up on a stat sheet. It looks like a 10-yard completion to Diontae Johnson, when in actuality, it's Kenny making a big league throw. And he made quite a few big league throws again yesterday, and he's protecting the football. So yet again, anyone that wants to hate on Kenny Pickett, you're really running out of fucking arguments here, other than he's not throwing a ton of touchdowns. And it's not because yesterday he could have had the Diontae Johnson touchdown. He should have had the George Pickens touchdown. He just missed them. So, the touchdowns are going to come as Kenny Pickett continues to grow and the game slows down for him. It's the fact that he's knowing where guys are going to be and knowing how to time the throws that is really encouraging to me. So I'm starting to really, really get higher and higher on Kenny as this season has continued to progress. And we're going to get to see him play against some bad defenses here in the next couple of weeks again. So it's more confidence thing. I'm really excited to see him. But again, Jerry, at the end of the day, I really want to see Kenny go 250, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns type of game. I want to 100% see him fucking go lights out, where we can walk away. He let his fucking nuts hang. We won the game. Kenny balled out. Now it's fucking time, because if he can prove that he can do that, we already know he's deadly accurate. He has he has all the ability to make the throws that people say that he can't, like that Pat Freiermuth throw coming back across the field. You know what play I'm talking about, Jerry?
Was that the third down?
So Kenny, the rush comes up the middle. He slides to the left side. He replants his feet, and he hits Freiermuth, who's coming from the left side over. I mean, that's an NFL throw, man. That's an NFL throw. He's making big league throws. I just don't know what people are expecting anymore out of this. We're watching nice development right in front of our eyes with Kenny Pickett, baby.
Yeah, man. I think everything's trending the right way, and like I said before, I think this is going to be wildly successful and end of the year run for Kenny Pickett.
I hope so. I genuinely really do hope so, and that's. I know that we're going to lose some games still, and this season is over, but it was never about this season. It was about what does Kenny Pickett do for us when he got the chance and going into next season. So, I mean, fingers crossed. I'm pulling so fucking hard for this guy at this point, just because it's so big for the franchise, but just because he seems like a good dude. We talked about it prior to recording. Kenny doesn't use his social media massively unless the Steelers win. He's just not one of those guys who's going to go out there and post a bunch of pictures. Life is great, because he's probably fucking pissed. Jerry, you said it. He's an Uber competitor. So he's the type of guy that's not going to use his Instagram, Twitter, shit like that unless they win a football game. And I fucking love that, Jerry.
Yeah, he dies like we die, when we lose games, just go silent sometimes. I mean, we got a podcast, so we got to go up and talk about it. And, I think he does a really good job, I'd say, especially in the press conferences afterwards. He just sounds like he's been in the league for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. I mean, he's a mature guy.
Yeah, I mean, you got other guys around the league who've been starting quarterbacks for a couple of years, and they just sound terrible, especially guys who just, don't take blame. And that's one thing Kenny does do. He takes blame a lot,
Yeah.
and I'd say he takes blame a little bit more than he should.
Mm-hmm. But that's a quarterback. That's what you're supposed to do. You're the leader of the ship. When the ship drowns, it's because of you. And when you are smooth sailing, it's not because of you. It's because of your teammates. And that to me is a great leader. And Kenny Pickett definitely fills those shoes really nicely. The Steelers did really, really well. One thing I want to hit on is going to be my all-heart player of the week, but it circles back to the run game for the Pittsburgh Steelers is really starting to be something nice. And I think that, early we were looking to find our identity and we don't know who we are, and it's hard to win games when you don't know who you are. And it's something that Alex had hinted at, but they're starting to realize that they can run the ball, and they can run the ball, efficiently in a lot of nice plays against a defense that does not give up very many rushing yards at all. And to go off for a $172 like we did against the Colts, that's encouraging considering what we did in the prior games, the Bengals game, the Eagles game. The Steelers are starting to run up some rushing yard numbers, and that's why I think you're seeing much better production out of Kenny Pickett as well. They go hand in hand. So my all-heart player this week is Benny Snell. Benny Snell had his first carries of the season this year, against the Colts, and he came out and he played really good football. He ran hard. He ran with power. He was decisive. He wasn't dancing. Benny Snell doesn't have breakaway speed. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he runs with some power, and that's what I like to see him do. He went 12 rushes, 62 yards, a touchdown, 1 catch for 6 yards. And it helped the Steelers win that game. It helped the Steelers control that game late in the game, was being able to just suck the life out of the football. And they did it really nice yesterday. So Benny Snell, you are my all-heart player of the week this week. What do you got, Jer?
Yeah, mine's, pretty simple. We're not going to touch on it much, but Kenny Pickett. I think he really deserves it. If I had a game ball to give out, I'd give it to him. I think he really stepped up. I think he looked great. And hopefully we just continue to see that. But I know it's a little basic, but I think it was a tier lower than a coming out game.
I would agree entirely. He was on. He was getting close to making a coming out game, no doubt about it. And I think we're starting to see he's very close to having a coming out game. He's gonna go for 250, 300 yards here and a couple of touchdowns. It's a matter of time. He's putting all of the things together now, and so I think we're gonna see one. So yeah, Kenny definitely is worthy of being the all-heart player this week.
Yeah, that leads me to the bet of the week actually, and I think this week coming up is the time he does it. I'm taking the Steelers over 2.5 touchdowns. It's a plus 100 right now. Get it early on the Barstool Sportsbook. I think the Steelers score 4 touchdowns next week.
Really?
Yep. 3 from Kenny, 1 on the ground.
In Atlanta, the Falcons aren't bad, man. The Falcons are a decent fucking football team.
They're decent, but I think the Steelers are going to put up 30 on them.
Holy shit, this is big. If we had little bells and whistles right now, they'd be going nuts. High alerts right now. Jerry is calling the Steelers go for 30 on the Falcons on Sunday in Atlanta. That's 4 touchdowns. Jesus Christ.
I think it's going to be a shootout, bro.
That's a wild take. I'll give you that. I'm not going to say that. So let's recap the betting. It looked early like I was going to run away with the under and take a 2-game lead on Jerry here. And fucking just the special teams killed us. They let the Colts march down the field on special teams. The defense wouldn't have given up touchdowns on those drives, but the special teams fucking bit us in the ass. So I took the Steelers under 39.5 for the over under. I took under 39.5. It was 41, so I lost by 1.5. Jerry had the Colts minus 2.5. That was an emotional bet out of Jerry. Terrible fucking bet. When he said it was a terrible bet. So I'm glad that he ate shit on that. And it was kind of funny. I saw a bunch of people tweeting us about it yesterday. They're like, Jerry, bet that the Steelers are going to lose every single week.
Yeah, I know. Freaking,
Jerry's just struggling right now, guys. Cut him some slack here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a really bad, and not just on the show, just in general. I'm having a really rough football season because I always do the crazy bets, though. I always do the parlays. I always do the touchdown scores because $1,000 doesn't do it for me. I want to win 15. I want to win 20, and that's just that. That's just a loser mentality. You know what I mean?
So the spread this week, what we're looking at here is the Steelers are favored. The Steelers are favored on the money line itself. The Steelers are favored by 1. The over-under is 43 points. Oh, that's tough.
Way over.
You really think that? You really believe that?
I think there's going to be about 50 points that game.
Yeah, but why? I want to hear why. I actually genuinely want to hear your reasoning on this.
I just think they found something. I think they found something on the ground that works. I think they found what Kenny can be really, really good at. I just feel like, as the year goes on, you're going to start to see this offense. Listen, if you had a gun to my head right now and you say, Jerry, what are you worried more about, the defense or the offense? I'd say the defense. I really would. I really, really, honestly, it might be a hot take, but listen, I am. I think this offense is starting to roll a little bit. I really do.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. I think the offense is starting to roll. I just don't know that they're rolling enough that they're going to score 30 points. I just think
they're scoring 28 minimum. They might score 35.
If they score 35, Jerry, I'll give you 2 wins. If they score 35 points, I'll give you 2 fucking wins for this. It's just not going to happen. There's no way. I'm taking the Steelers this week to cover 1.5 first half spread. First half spread, I think the Steelers cover 1.5 points. We're a better team in the first half than we are in the second half. That's been proven a lot. And a lot of this comes back to I just don't trust Matt Canada. I don't trust Matt Canada to make the adjustments that we need to continue to put our foot on the gas in the second half. Again, it harkens back to you heard the players for the Colts saying they're running the same plays. First half, that shit might work. Second half, I don't trust it. So I'm taking the Steelers minus 1.5 in the first half this week. As it stands in the standings, I am 5-6. Jerry is 4-7. I still have a 1-game lead. For those that are new to this, we have front row road tickets on the line next season. Loser has to buy the winner front row road game tickets. And boy, Jerry, if we are good next year, they are pricey. So I cannot wait to put a dent into that fucking wallet this season. So let's hope that's what happens.
This wallet's been getting smaller and smaller as the football season goes on. I don't know how much more I could take.
Luckily, it's almost over, Jerry. We got about a month left here. We're in the home stretch. For anyone coming out to the game, I will be there in Atlanta. We're going to do the Terrible Tailgate. You can find all that information on the Terrible Tailgate's website. Trey Essex, actually lineman for the Steelers, he confirmed this morning that he's going to end up coming to the tailgate. Jeff Reed will be there. He's bringing the Super Bowl rings. So I'm going to put the rings on. I'm going to hit a Kenny Bong before the game just to get the juices, the vibe in the right place as far as that's concerned. You guys are all welcome to join. It's going to be a blast. If you want to do the betting, we encourage you, download the Barstool Sportsbook app. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. I don't know if you saw the Thanksgiving bet that they were doing. They gave away those overs jackets, which were fucking beautiful jackets. Fire. And I texted Jerry in the morning, what do you think about that? And he's like, it hasn't hit yet. And I'm like, it's due. It's due. Yeah. And it came out and it fucking hit. So at this point, just fade everything Jerry says. So when he's saying 35, they're scoring 10. It's what it is here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If Kenny looks like he did last week and he progresses, this team, I'm telling you, this offense is going to end up by the end of the year is finished. What you're going to say is you're going to sit there at the end of the year and you're going to say, this offense towards the end of the year was light years better than the defense was.
I just don't want this is fucking crazy to say. I just don't want the offense to go so crazy and find their rhythm so much that it means Matt Canada, gets a pass and he comes back for a third season. Yeah, so it's a really fine line where I want to see them do really well. I just don't want to see them do so well that Matt Canada keeps his job. It's just unacceptable. So I don't want to see it happen.
Here's my stat line, and I'll close with this. Kenny Pickett next week against the Falcons. 25 for 36, 3 touchdowns, and 297 yards. Look, coming out show.
Jersey Jerry is calling Kenny Pickett's coming out game this Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. I hope to see it happen, Jerry. I hope they're calling you Jerry Nostradamus out here, the sports Nostradamus Jersey Jerry. I really hope that that's what happens. I just don't see it happening. So having said that, we appreciate you guys. It means the world to us. We say it every week. It means everything to us that you continue to listen to us. You continue to support us. We're going to continue to try and get someone else on here every week just to change it up so it's not Jerry and I bitching at each other. We hope that you guys continue to rock with us. Where you find this, share it, like, comment, subscribe to the Jersey Jerry YouTube channel. Jerry has gained quite a bit of subscribers on the YouTube channel, so it's a lot of you guys. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. Hope to see you in Atlanta this weekend, and we'll see you again next week.
All right, see you guys.
Later, Jerry.
We're here. We're still here.
We are still here.